So welcome to the show, everybody. Seth Jenkins is over there. I'm Sean Palmer over here. It is April 9th. How we doing, buddy? We're almost there, right? Yes! We're almost
And then
there.
there's 3 other boxes of shit to go.
Oh, well, we're not almost there. We're almost there, but we're not almost there.
We ain't that close.
So I got to tell you, this is the first time I think we are centered on you from your laptop. Definitely a different vantage point than what we normally have on the show. So we get to see that lovely Maryland diploma behind you. And
more importantly, we get to see Grievous Vasquez shooting over a Duke player.
Over a Duke player, whoever that Duke player.
I think it was Hale. So I forget his first name.
Okay, so let's start with the Final Four and your takeaways from the Final Four. Because I got a couple of my own. I didn't watch all 3 games. I probably watched combined a game and a half, so maybe a half from each of the games. But I have my own thoughts on this, and where, quite frankly, this may be the last college basketball Final Four with, I guess, some form of amateurism, if not, and maybe amateurism in quotes, right, as to what amateurism is. But what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are the University of Maryland does not have one player coming back from last year, from going into next year. Sure. I don't believe Indiana does either.
Yeah.
So the whole point of this being college is a joke. It's not college. It's minor league basketball. I thought there was no reason that Houston was within 15 points of Duke in the semifinal. They came back and won. I thought there was no reason that Florida was within 10 points of Houston in the final and won. The idea that this was a classic is utterly ridiculous. It was close. It was not a great game by any stretch of the imagination. And, look, congrats to the Florida fans and to Todd Golden and Clayton Jr. and the rest of the team. They won. It was hideous, I thought, but it was win's a win. And as when Maryland won the championship 22 years ago, and I watched in a bar in Bethesda with about 15 buddies, it was the worst game we played all year, and we won by 12. As my closest friend from college said, Seth, shut the hell up. We won the national title. Who cares how we played? And that's really how it is.
And that is how it is, right? I mean, if you win, right, flags fly forever, and nobody remembers how you really played when you're looking back on the game. Nobody. Like, I don't remember at all how Syracuse played. I know that there were certainly I know Jerry McNamara had an amazing first half and a horrible second half in the championship game.
I know Akeem Mark blocked was a Michael Lee shot.
Right. But other than that, I have absolutely no idea how they played throughout the game. I knew that they were up at the beginning and hung on at the end. Like, whatever. But if you ask me the percentage of 3-pointers that they hit or the percentage of 2-pointers that they hit, I would have no clue. And nor do I care because we won. And that's what I care about. And by the way, yesterday, I believe, was the anniversary of Hakeem Warwick's block. So go us and our only national championship that we have. I will say one thing. I've gotten some feedback from various people over the last couple of weeks. And these people are not college basketball, let me say, aficionados, if you will. And it's been the same rhetoric the entire time. And that rhetoric is that it was a strange ending to the game over and over and over again. So, and the way that I rationalize that is I said, well, the teams don't have the consistency playing with each other. Now, whether that they're all 18-year-olds or they're all 23-year-olds or they're all 21-year-olds. When you don't have, like you saw at the end of the national championship game, what Houston was doing, and you're kind of like, how do somebody not come to the ball, right? How does somebody not know what to do in that situation? And part of it is because they just let the guy do his own thing and nobody realized, hey, I got to do this too. And part of that comes from not having experience with the staff or with each other. That's my opinion on it. And it doesn't matter whether you're an 18-year-old or a 23-year-old. If you haven't played together consistently with the same people over the course of the last 2 years, that type of inconsistency is going to come out. And that's why teams come back in these games. That's why no lead is great.
I don't know. Look, they've been playing together for 35 games, plus 80 practices. This isn't November, December.
That's true.
I think you have continuity.
Okay.
I don't think that's the problem. I just think Houston was not very good at developing their own shots. I mean, the Duke game, Houston is monstrous. They are so physical and so big and strong. But they're not a great – Kelvin Sampson never had a great offensive team.
Sure.
Or not – I mean, look, Oklahoma in 2002 was excellent with Price and I forget the other – and White. But for the most part, that's not his team. His team is big, strong, athletic as crazy guys, and he has some good. Look, Cryer is an excellent player. Sasser went to the pros. Manuel Sharp's really good, but there never feels like there's continuity. This is the reason that. But look, you should have been able, if you were a championship team with 30, the last two possessions you didn't get a shot off.
Yep.
And look, as much credit as you give Kelvin Sampson for setting up the backdoor play in the last 3 seconds against Purdue, you have to give him some fault that there was no organization. Florida's a good defensive team, but they're not. I mean, and Clayton made a nice play jumping out to try, in which made Sharp jump up with the ball, and maybe he should have jumped into him and try and draw a foul. I don't know. But I thought I don't think it was a good game. I think it was a close game.
Yeah.
Not the same.
Yeah,
I thought Clayton looked out of sorts, and that is a credit to Houston's defense. Houston is a phenomenal defensive team. They just offensively, they're not. I don't remember seeing so many shots that literally hit the backboard that barely hit the rim.
So Kelvin Sampson has made 3 Final Fours now?
Indiana, something like that.
Indiana, Oklahoma.
They won with Oklahoma in 2002. He made this one. I don't remember if there's a third. They're very well
Indiana. He went with Indiana.
Mike Davis was the coach of Indiana.
Okay.
Because Indiana beat Oklahoma in the semifinals. And Oklahoma, because that was the year Maryland won, and the one team I was scared to death of was Oklahoma.
No, I thought he made – okay, I thought he made 3 Final Fours. He may not have. I'm going down this now. Okay, so Indiana 2006 to 2008, he didn't make a Final Four in there? I thought he did. He went 21-11. Nope, he lost in the second round. Okay, you're right. I was just saying he's one of those coaches that you're like, he's won the AP Coach of the Year twice. He's made X amount of wins. I believe he has over 800 wins at this point. I mean, he's got 798 wins, excuse me. So I was close. I said 800.
You're kind of in the ballpark.
Yeah, where is he on, hey, those coaches that you think should win and never have, right? Or you thought should have put up a national championship at this point. Like Boeheim was in that for so long, right? And it just goes back to the same thing, is that coaching only gets you so far in the NCAA.
Well, it did. It got him to the last 30 seconds of the national championship game.
Sure.
But where in the Houston, with the amount of money that flows through Houston is enormous. So they're going to be right. I think on ESPN or The Athletic, they were preseason number 1 for next year, having lost their best player.
Sure.
So they have 3 top 20 recruits coming in. Sharp comes back, so they're going to be really good. But that's where we are. It's how much can, as you said, the recruiting means less because the money means more.
Right, that's right. And what I was saying was why this is so different is that we have a $2.5 billion settlement that is coming due. By the way, those are back damages to athletes who have played between 2016 and 2024. So you're only covering 8 years, Seth. So Chris Jenkins is in there, as we know, but because he played in the Final Four in 2016. There are 88,000 people, college athletes, that have filed claims so far, with another 33,000 that are intending to do that. So I don't know the.
Come on, just pause me for 2 seconds. Come on, Shep. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I don't quite know the math for those that are doing this. I'm going to figure it out right now because let me get the calculator up before we do this. But so we got 2.5 billion, right? That's million. That's billion divided by 110,000. So each person will get about, if everything is correct, equal. If there are equal shares, each athlete would get $22,000. And if you're Chris Jenkins, you're looking at that going, yeah, right. For those that are unaware, Chris Jenkins was the guy that hit the shot in 2016 to propel Villanova over North Carolina in the most exciting basketball game I have ever seen. And I was there to witness it live because Syracuse had lost in the Final Four. And he has opted out of this lawsuit and has decided to sue, much like Jannard Robinson of Michigan, on his own, stating that, hell, they make more money off of me every single year than $22,000. Seth, I know you have views on this. I know this is something where you're kind of, hey, we're opening up Pandora's box here if we go backwards in time. Is it just a matter that you were born at the wrong time so you don't get the money, much the same way as other players are? Like you could say Aaron Judge was born at the right time and Pete Rose or Johnny Bench was born at the wrong time?
Should Bill Russell have sued the MPA to get $25 million because he was 30 years before income came in, before the real money came in? I mean, if you start this, how much are you going to pay Derek Whittenberg? How much are you going to pay the Villanova 88, the Miracle 88 team? How much are you going to pay Bill? I mean, the estate of Bill. You literally can't price this because you're going back. You can go back 50 years.
Yeah.
60 years. How are you going to price it? How are you going to determine a value?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that concept. I think
the whole point, a lot of this, and we've seen this before, is what they made in the 50s versus the 60s versus. I mean, the Yankees win championships in the 40s. Guys had second jobs.
Yep. Mickey Mantle had a second job.
You know, so now they make more in a game than these guys did over in a 5-year career. I don't really know how you can financially reconcile it. I don't. And if you're going to open up one, you're literally opening up hundreds, because a lot of these that are in that collect, and again, you're more of an expert on my end than I am on this. But my assumption is that the collective bargaining are for current players, not really for paid players retroactively. I could be wrong. I don't know. As I said, this isn't my expertise. But are we going to open up? I mean, we can go to any of these. David Thompson, 1974. Are we going to open up U.S. Danny Ainge hitting the layup in 81? I mean, where do you even go?
Well, I think that's the point, is where would this stop, right? where would they stop? Is it on a go-forward basis? It'll be interesting to see these two court cases, Denard Robinson suing and Chris Jenkins suing, and see where they end up. But at the same time, Seth, you can make the claim, and I would make the claim, is that if you want, I get your point, right? You're not going backwards. But maybe if you're going forwards, right, where, okay, you're not going to get money for all the income that the NCAA has earned since 2016 based on Chris Jenkins' shot. I'm with you on that, 100% from today. And so does that mean the next 30 years they can show Chris Jenkins on their NCAA broadcasts for free? That's where that comes down, right? So part of what Chris Jenkins has said is that right now it is one of the most widely watched YouTube clips is Chris Jenkins hitting that.
Probably. No argument.
It is through CBS and through the NCAA that licenses that clip, right? And on that clip, there is a commercial that happens before and a commercial that probably happens after that clip on YouTube. So that means the NCAA is making money every single time that clip is shown. Well, if you're Chris Jenkins and you're saying, okay, I get that you can't pay me for the 8 years that we've already done this. But maybe,
what, is he saying that? Or is he saying he wants retroactive?
He's not saying that, but that may be the next step, right? Is, yeah, I can't replace the past, but I can replace the future. I can state starting today, I can't monetize these people, right? Or I can't monetize Chris Jenkins or monetize Lorenzo Charles or monetize any player for that matter. So when you re-show the whole, I don't know, what's the year that UCLA played Notre Dame, right? When you re-show that game, or it was UCLA against Houston, right?
UCLA Notre Dame is when Notre Dame broke UCLA's 88.
Right, that's the one I was looking for.
UCLA Houston is the quote unquote game of the century between Elvin Hayes and Kareem.
Right, so let's say either one, right? And one had Bill Walton in it, and one had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No, they both had Kareem in it.
Oh, they did?
No, Notre Dame had Walton. You're right.
Right. See, I know what I'm talking about here. So maybe at that point, once you're playing those clips or playing those games on national broadcast, you then do have to monetize the players that played in it because you are using their name, image, and likeness going forward. I don't know the solution. You're absolutely right. This is a huge box, right? But at the same time, you are monetizing these people or you're monetizing their estates for a purpose of you making money. I get it. You can't go backwards and say, I'm going to use a Michael Jackson clip for entertainment and say, I can use it. It's not fair use. You have to monetize his estate anytime you use it. Why is this any different? Now that you have decided that they are pros. That's the issue. So
I don't have an answer. I really don't. And look, people don't particularly like the NCAA, but if you're going to monetize every time something happens, and they're going to have to take out, again, I have no concept. This is in my field.
Sure.
20% and pay it to Chris Jenkins, then for all intents and purposes, the NCAA is going to be broken in no time. So
are they not broken now?
No, it's broken. I said broke.
Oh, broke.
Again,
Hold on, but why? So you're paying. Hold on, you're.
Well, actually, that's not true. You're paying $9 billion to CBS is paying you $9 billion over the next.
And they're getting money each time they do this, right? So,
but they're already getting the money.
No, but I'm saying, well,
it's not.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not like they haven't gotten the money. Sure. I don't know the line. It's probably the best way to put it. I don't.
Yeah.
But I think we can safely stop calling them college athletes at this point.
Well, they're still college athletes. They're just not amateurs.
Fine. I mean, if you go to 4 schools in 4 years, this is not it's not college. It's not amateur. Just call it what it is.
Yeah.
It's minor league NBA.
Yep. Fair enough. You want to hear something that came over today now that we're talking about money. Okay. First of all, you and I were big proponents, and I know this was not on our preview of what we were talking about, but it actually just got reported a couple of minutes ago. You and I were big proponents of players that stay with their original franchises, right?
Yes.
I remember this discussion, you and me and Joe Mauer was the biggest one, right? And for those, Seth and I have been doing this quite a long time. So when Joe Mauer first came up for free agency, obviously the Yankees were very highly engaged and would have offered him more money than the Twins. And Seth and I were very big proponents of, even Seth being a Yankee fan, he said, I'd love Joe Mauer to be on the Yankees. However, I'd really prefer Joe Mauer stay on the Twins because that would just make it better. So in the last week, we had a $500 million deal go down with one of the players that wanted to stay with Toronto, and nobody wants to stay with Toronto, but he stayed with Toronto for $500 million. That's a lot of cash. Let's understand that is a lot of cash. Now, it's not Juan Soto cash. It's not Shohei Ohtani cash. Actually, in present value, it is more than Shohei Ohtani cash. But here's the kicker. According to The Athletic today and Ken Rosenthal, the biggest surprise of the Vladimir Guerrero extension is not that he landed the $500 million deal without going to free agency.
14 years.
The shocker, 14. The shocker is that the contract includes a $325 million signing bonus.
I did not know that.
Now, that signing bonus, like hockey signing bonuses, will be paid over time. But that is 100% guaranteed, right? Whether he retires or not, it's a signing bonus. Whether there is a strike or not, there's a signing bonus. Whether there's COVID or not, he gets the signing bonus. It's based on the signing of the contract. Seth, he's got $175 million in salary. So, and why is this important? Well, this is important for 2 reasons. First of all, if this is the new thing, remember, Juan Soto got a $60 million signing bonus. If this is the new thing, the signing bonus, right? How many teams can afford this, Seth? How many? 5?
Dodgers, the Mets, I guess Toronto, maybe the Yankees.
The Yankees and the Red Sox. That's it. Maybe the Cubs. Maybe. But that's it, right? That's all. $175 million
signing bonus?
Yeah. Now,
can I ask a stupid question because you're more of a baseball guy than I am?
Bring it on.
Is Vlad Guerrero one of the 10 to 15 best players in the league?
15, maybe. Look, he plays a non-premium position, and that's what goes against it. He plays first base.
Right. But it also means he can last longer playing first base because you don't.
Yeah,
he's not as physically demanding as second base, short, or outfield.
Sure, one would think. And he has played a little bit of third in his lifetime, so he can move over there if he needs to on the occasion. He came up as a third baseman. Let's understand. Let me go back to this. Is Juan Soto one of the top 4 players in Major League Baseball? Probably. He's definitely one of the top 4 hitters. He may not be the top 4 overall players.
I wouldn't. I mean,
how many hitters would you take over him? I got 2, maybe 3.
Ohtani, you take over him.
Sure.
Take
Judge,
you probably take over him.
That's about it.
Would you take Bobby Witt Jr.?
No, not today. Maybe tomorrow.
Because I guess the question is, look, as a home run hitter, absolutely. But he's not a great base runner. So that's why I'm trying to think outside of just.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one that would remotely come close is Mookie Betts to me. But Mookie Betts is a little older, and that would be the reason why I wouldn't take him. So remember, Juan Soto's 26 years old. Like, that comes into play too.
Maybe.
Well, yeah, maybe. So I guess the point is, it's not necessarily, as we have seen through. Look, Catfish Hunter was not the greatest pitcher in the world when he came up for free agency, right? But he got the biggest contract. Catfish Hunter probably was not one of the top 5 pitchers in Major League Baseball when he got the biggest contract ever.
Correct.
Because it's right place, right time. And he was in the right place, right time. And so is Vladimir Guerrero a top 15 player? Probably not. But he's a guy that wanted to stay in Toronto, which
I'm just curious. Did he want to stay in Toronto?
Yeah. Well, he was born in Toronto, believe it or not.
Oh, I didn't.
No, he was born in Canada. Excuse me. He was born in Canada because his father played for Montreal at the time.
Okay. I didn't.
By the way, his signing bonus is almost as much as his father earned in his entire career. No, sorry. His signing bonus is, the remaining salary is almost as much as he earned in his entire career. The signing bonus is 1.5 times what he earned in his entire career.
Just stop. You're just depressing the crap out of me.
But this is where baseball is at. And when we have a 2026, 2027 potential strike due to a salary cap and due to a salary floor, we can point to this, right? We can point to Shohei Ohtani. We can point to Juan Soto. We can point to all these contracts that only 4 or 5 teams can readily afford. That's it. And and I don't want to hear that every team can afford this contract because that's not true. I'm not sure the Yankees can afford to throw out $325 million in a signing bonus. And they print money. I'm just not sure they can do it. This is where, when Hal Steinbrenner says, I'm being fiscally conservative, I'm not sure this is conservative. I think this is being fiscally realistic.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't disagree. Okay, that's why I told you, what was my feeling about the Soto deal do you think, what did we talk about?
No, you said good riddance.
Good riddance. I mean, I guess, look, I'm 48 years old. Maybe I'm just an old fart on some of this.
You are.
I am. It's $750 million. He's not Babe Ruth. He's not Willie Mays. He's not Shohei Ohtani.
No, he's the right guy at the right time. That's what it comes down to. But to be fair, and I'm going to be fair here, Juan Soto is entering the potential prime of his career at 26. We haven't seen, you hope, the best from Juan Soto. While Aaron Judge is 31, I believe, and you have to think, if he's not Barry Bonds, he's probably already seen his prime. Now, granted, a torpedo bat will do wonders for you. But
he's not using a torpedo bat.
Wasn't he using a torpedo bat?
No, he's not using. I believe he's not using a torpedo bat.
All right. But I'm just saying, right? So you hope that at 26, he's elevating his game as opposed to some that are not elevating their game. Vladimir Guerrero is 28, I believe, and you hope that he is elevating his game at least for another year or two. But the other thing is, which I don't think is being, granted, the reporting just came out, so I'm not sure it's paying too much attention to it. I wonder if this was made this way. So first of all, I don't know if there's a no trade clause. I haven't looked into that. But let's pretend that there is no trade clause, right? Easy.
Okay.
So on the back end of the contract, if you wanted to trade him, that signing bonus is paid out already.
Correct. So you're only paying
now
175 over 14.
For salary cap numbers, he's still at 37. But much like the hockey contracts, you're only paying him in cash $14 million for the last 5 to 6 years of that contract. That is That's a nuisance in Major League Baseball. That's not it, right? By the way, that's the mid-level exemption in the NBA. This is about $14 million. Just to throw it out there that while baseball is a little out of whack, it's not the most out of whack that there is. You just can't have a 14-year contract in the NBA. That's the difference. Okay. We just segued a little bit into the NHL. And something historic happened this week to my New York Islanders. And no.
I'm not quite sure that's the reason.
Well, I mean, that to be fair, Wayne Gretzky scored 894 goals in his career.
Correct.
The 894th goal was scored against the New York Islanders. Okay? And he did it in, hold on, I forgot how many games. Hold on a second. There's some symmetry here, I promise. I'm not saying otherwise. He did it in 1,487 games. So in his 1,487th game, he scores against the New York Islanders. And this week, Alex Ovechkin comes up and plays against the New York Islanders with 894 goals. And in his 1,487th game, he scores the next goal. So in exactly the same amount of games, he overtakes Wayne Gretzky against the New York Islanders and becomes the all-time leading goal scorer in NHL history. So congratulations to Ovi. Seriously, Congratulations to Ovi, because if you remember when Ovi was a rookie or even in his first couple of years, he thought that this record was completely out of reach.
Correct.
So did everybody, by the way, because Gretzky outscored Gordie Howe by over 90 goals, and Gordie was Mr. Hockey. Now the question comes in from my friend Barry Siegel, the Washington Capitals fan of all fans.
Yep.
And he asked me, is Ovechkin one of the top 10 players in NHL history? Now,
I kind of had a feeling you were going.
This is if you want some research, The Athletic has done a article on this today. Surprise, surprise. Or the last couple of days. I am sure you will find this as in every publication, somebody has answered this question because it's a valid question. 100%. He is the leading goal scorer in NHL history. Does that make him a top 10 player? So, Seth, I know you are not a huge hockey fan, but I'm interested in what say you.
Okay. So I think it's pretty universally conceded the top 4 players of all time. Determine your order. Gretzky or Lemieux, Gordie Howe. I think that's kind of more of a pretty consensus.
I'd agree with you.
So the question really becomes, after that, where do you go? You have Rocket Richard, you have Yager, you have Jan Bellevue, you have Sidney Crosby, you have Connor McDavid, you have all the Jacques Plante, you have all these people. I think he kind of hits the bottom of the top 10. Again, I'm not an expert, but I kind of defer. Would you take Ovechkin over Mark Messier?
No. So I have put my top 10 players together. Okay. In fact, I have put together 11 players, and the bottom is subjective. I don't think the top is subjective, quite frankly.
You agree with me for getting the order?
Yeah, those four are the Rushmore. That's it. There's nobody else.
I assume it goes Gretzky and then Howe, Lemieux is you pick a card.
It's Gretzky 1. Figure out the rest of the 3. I don't care. Yeah. They all played different games. They all played at different times.
Is there a goalie in your top 10?
Yes.
Is it Patrick Waugh?
there are 2 goalies in my top 10. Hasek and Waugh. Yep.
Okay.
There are 2 goalies in my top 10. There are 2 defense. So, again, I have 11. Okay. I don't have 10. Okay. So, my 11 are Gretzky. You got the top 4. Gretzky, Howe, Lemieux, Orr. Top 4. These are not in order. Okay. I am not saying these are in order.
I understand.
Just my 11. Messier is number 6. Yager is 7. Waugh is 8. Sidney Crosby is 9. Rocker Richard is 10. Oh, I have 12. Hasek is 11. And Nicholas Lindstrom is 12.
You had Ovechkin fifth? You had Ovechkin 5th?
I don't have Ovechkin on this list.
Who was 5th? That was the one I missed.
So I have
Messier was 6th.
Oh, Messier was 5. Messier was 5. Okay. And I also put something else in here. Connor McDavid, give him 4 years at what he's doing right now, will easily be in that top 10.
Okay.
Even without a cup, he will be in that top 10. And there is room for Nathan McKinnon. There is room for other players in that.
Correct.
Does change. Now, I do understand a comparison between Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby. I get it. I get where this stands. I get that Alex Ovechkin has won 3 Hart trophies, which are the most valuable player, and Sidney Crosby has only won 1. But I think something has to be said for how many championships you win. I think championships have to play a role. I am not saying they are the end-all, be-all, but if you are going to push somebody over the top in a top 10 discussion, think about the other players that I put in here.
You only had one who never won a title, I believe, which was Hasek.
Hasek won a title.
Oh, he won with Detroit. He was past his prime by then. I forgot about that.
Everybody on this list has won a title. And to be fair, Ovi won 1 too.
No, I knew Ovi won 1. I had forgotten that. I think of Hasek at his prime was in Buffalo.
Part of this is also, to me, okay, and I get you have to win. I get you have to be. To me, you have to be an all-around player. Okay. The amount of goals that Alex Ovechkin scored on the power play are a little bit more for my liking than, say, so Crosby has 1,683 points. Ovechkin has 1,619 points. Now, Ovechkin has played 140 more games. So that has to play into there. And Crosby has 3 cups, and Ovi only has 1. It will be interesting to me how long it takes McDavid to get into that group if he never wins.
It'll never. I don't think you can ever get there.
You can't get into the top 10 without a win?
Well, I don't think so. Name a sport where someone has.
Well, and I was going to go to basketball. Elgin doesn't get in there, right?
Elgin is the closest you got. And he's bottom of the top 20. 16, 17, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Where does Mike Trout?
Not top 10. I mean, he just didn't have the longevity to hit that. But if you go like baseball, again, high level top. Well, I guess Ted Williams. I apologize. Williams is a top 10 player of all time, and never won a championship.
Well, and the funny thing is, if you ask most players, most people, I'm not sure Williams breaks the top 10 for players. For hitters, certainly. I'm not sure if he gets there. I agree with you in that he would be the closest, much the way Elgin would be. But I'm not sure he even gets there. So McDavid right now would be the closest one that I would put into that.
Sorry, who did you say? I apologize.
Connor McDavid. Now, Connor McDavid has only played 9 years. Okay. He has He's got 3 Hart trophies. He's already matched that of Ovechkin in 9 years. And he's definitely probably on his way to another one this year. He has won the Richard Trophy, the Ross Trophy, which is the best scorer, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. He's been an all-star every single year he's been there. And he's been a first-team NHL player 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, second team 3 times. He's the Mike Trout of the NHL right now, right? He's the Mike Trout of the NHL. And if you're going to say that, then Mike Trout certainly, and I think that's your point, right? Mike Trout's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a top 10 player. No. And so the question is whether he can get there. And
actually, I think my argument's going downhill because there's one player, again, a baseball player, that Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
I guess you have to be so dominant above and beyond, which Bonds was, Ted Williams was.
You can make the case McDavid is.
Yeah.
You can make the case McDavid is.
But also, yeah, I mean, McDavid has made a final. They lost in game 7 of a final. It was last year. Williams made 2. Bonds made 1. So maybe it's you at least have to make it is the threshold. Because I don't think I can't think of anyone who's. I mean, Baylor went to 6 of them, 5 of them.
By the way, I'd also make the claim that if you look at this list that I have, you have 2 wingers, and that's it. So you have Gretzky's a center, Messier's a center, Howe's a center. He also played wing, but he's mostly a center. Crosby's a center. So you have 4 centers. You have 2 goalies, and you have 2 defensemen, right? A winger needs help. A winger doesn't do it himself. And a winger doesn't play the way it's described is the 200-foot game, right? He plays side of the ice. And Jágr was both a center and a winger, depending on if he had Mario Lemieux on his line. So, I mean, you can make the claim that most of the time he played center. Ovi would be the only winger on this list. And notice, by the way, I did not put Mike Bossy on there.
Would you put Hull?
Hull wasn't a center either. Hull was a winger.
No, he was a winger. That's why I'm saying.
I thought about Hull. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have one winger, Rocket Richard. And when the goal scoring trophy is named after you, you're probably the best goal scorer of all time. And yes, a different era, a totally different era. He had 500 and something goals before anybody else had 400. He was the Babe Ruth of wingers for his time. And by the way, Rocket Richard, I think, won like 10 cups. So, I mean, he's way above everybody else. I think that it is – I don't think Ovi – the question is, if Jágr is at the bottom of this list, which I'm not sure he is, but if Jágr is at the bottom of this list, is Ovi a better player than Jágr? Is Ovi the best Russian player ever?
Here's the problem I have with the conversation. Ovi has never played with anyone anywhere close to the teammates that Jágr has had over the years.
It's the Patrick Ewing. Welcome back.
Except he hit the shot. Except Starks hit the shot.
Starks going 3 for 22. He would
2 for 18. I think
he would have had a championship had he hit a shot in that.
But he was not the number 1 player on his team for much of his career, Jágr, because he had Lemieux.
That's true.
Doesn't take away from Jágr's greatness. He's a top 10 player of all time.
But remember, Jágr, once he left Pittsburgh, won scoring titles. Okay, he won it with the Caps, believe it or not.
I was going to say with the Caps and with Philly.
And with the Rangers, I believe he won a scoring
Did
title.
he really?
I believe so. Hold on a second. But I believe, by the way, do we not love the internet? Like every day I find more things to love about the internet. He won the Hart Trophy. I'm sorry, he won the Ross Trophy with 121 points with Pittsburgh. He led the league in points 4 times, all with Pittsburgh. And he scored 149 and didn't lead the league in points, which was his all-time high. That was the year that 95-96, when he got knocked out by the Islanders and David Volek.
I remember the goal.
As do I. So that's the question, right? So when you look at Ovechkin, okay, and you say Ovechkin is a great player. Don't get me wrong. He is. But he is not. First of all, he's a winger. Second of all, he has scored 240 goals out of his 895 on the power play. So he's a power play specialist. He has led the league in points once when he was 22 years old. He has not scored 100 points. Now, granted, different game. I get it. But he has not scored 100 points since he was 24 years old. He's now 39.
He has not scored 100 points in 15 years?
Alexander Ovechkin has not scored 100 points in 15 years.
That amazes me.
He has scored 50 goals once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times in his career. And the last time he did that was 6 years ago. Now, goal scoring is different. Remember, this is not your Wayne Gretzky. I'm going to score 215 points in a year.
No, those days are gone. I guess
those days are far gone. So let's take the last time that he won the Richard Trophy. He had 48 goals. That's a huge amount of goals in 68 games. But Seth, he had
why only 68? Was it a strike season?
I guess he was hurt. But let's understand this. He had 19 assists. That's where you lose me, guys.
Yeah.
That's where you lose me. That's where you become Mike Gartner. That's not where you become Jaromir Jagr. Those are different. Hockey's a team sport. That to me is saying that Carmelo Anthony is a top 10 player in the NBA. Because he's 10th in points, right? He scores.
That legitimately shocks me. He's only scored 100 points 4 times in 20 years.
So he has 895 goals and he has 724 assists. Okay, most players in the NHL
it's about 2.5 to 1 assist to goal, give or take.
No, it's about 895 and 724.
No, I said most players, not.
Oh, right. It's generally 2 to 1 assist to goals. That's right. That's a complete player. Okay. We got 10 minutes left. I want to go into this new trend. It's called Let's Fire Our NBA Coach with 5 minutes. For last week, we had Taylor Jenkins, right? Taylor Jenkins of the Memphis Grizzlies. He gets fired. Okay. I get it. Never won a championship. Not sure if you're competing.
Fired the assistant coaches earlier in the year.
Dropping like flies, right? There have been rumors over the last year that Michael Malone was on thin ice. Michael Malone, excuse me, we're not allowed to call him Mike. Michael Malone has been on thin ice because of his relationship with Calvin Booth. Okay? They did not get along.
Usually you keep one or the other.
Calvin Booth drafted young players to play in the system that Michael Malone had. Michael Malone pretty much put up a middle finger and said, I'm not playing your players, and goes out and plays Russell Westbrook, which is fine in limited situations. And Russell Westbrook has had a resurgence this year due to Nikola Jokic. I think, Seth, you and I could play with Nikola Jokic and score 10 points. Okay.
I got a decent shot.
Yeah. Me, no.
I've seen yours. It's kind of ugly.
But the thing is,
down in Houston.
I'd have so many great passes, it wouldn't matter. But the fact is, so yesterday at around 4 o'clock, comes over the wires, the Denver Nuggets have not only fired Michael Malone, but they've released and will not re-sign Calvin Booth to a new contract. So in the end, nobody wins this power struggle between A and B. Now, to be fair, the Nuggets have lost 4 games in a row. On the flip side, Jamal Murray has been hurt for 4 straight games.
Correct.
And I didn't know this, but the guy that is taking over from Michael Malone is actually Rick Adelman's son.
Oh, David Adams was taking over?
Yes. Did not know that.
Well, it's just for the next month. I'm genuinely surprised that this couldn't wait till the. Why would you do this now?
Bingo. Why would you do this now? What are your hopes? Now, as we said last year, this has happened in other sports with success.
Larry Robinson, Jacques Lemaire.
With success.
Yes.
But I've never, ever heard of it in basketball. Ever. And now it's happened twice. In 2 weeks.
I'm trying to think if there's an example.
The only basketball coach that I know.
When did Pat Riley take over for Paul Westhead?
Oh, no way was that this late in the season.
I'm trying to just kind of hypothesize.
Pat Riley took over for Paul Westhead. Hold on. In 1981. I know you want to know what games, but I don't. 11 games into the season. So that doesn't work.
Okay.
How about Pat Riley when he came back to the Heat? Before Spoelstra, right? I don't know. It doesn't matter. The only thing that this reminds me of is Steve Fisher taking over before the NCAA tournament.
From Bill, From
right?
Bill Friedel. Yep.
By the way, props to me for knowing Steve Fisher.
That was pretty good considering Syracuse wasn't involved.
Nope, no Syracuse. Ramil Robinson was, though.
Bad call. Sorry, Michigan fans. Not that you care about my opinion 30 years later, but bad call.
Bad call. But, Seth, I don't know what brought this up. We know what brought this on. It's called dysfunction in the workplace. But I'm not sure how this helps. We discussed this yesterday offline. They have almost $160 million tied up in 4 players next year. That being Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter, Nikola Jokic, and Jamal Murray. Only one of them is reasonably tradable. Well, that's not fair. 2 of them are reasonably tradable. Only one of them should be traded. But
correct.
We have seen this before in that all-stars that should not be traded are later traded. We'll call that the Luka effect, in which we thought that we'd be dumbfounded over a trade. I don't know if I'm Nikola Jokic that I look at this team at the end of the year and say, I still want to be here.
Well, he's not getting – the question is whether he signs the extension, because I believe he has the ability to sign – I think it's a 3-year, $210 million, something like that. It would be –
They don't have a first-round pick. They don't have a coach. They don't have a GM. They have Jamal Murray with bad knees. They have Aaron Gordon, who's 30 years old, who relies on his jumping ability. And they have Michael Porter, who has back problems continuously. If you are Nikola Jokic, do you play the rest of your prime of your career with this? Because they're capped out. There's nowhere to go. They can trade Porter, but they're trading 40 cents on the dollar, not 10 cents. Let's say 40 cents. And they have very few, if any, young players to deal with. So where do you go? I'm not sure if this is not the end of what you see Nikola Jokic in Denver is this year. And then
I can't even fathom what the price point would be.
Then let's talk about the price point, right? That First of all, not only a price point, but how many first do you? Well, if you're. By the way, the first call I'm making is to Oklahoma City. The very first call. I would like 4 first-round picks and Chet Holmgren, please. And that's
you know what Oklahoma's going to say?
I would say yes. I'm not sure they'd say no.
I think they'd say no.
You do?
I do. I think they think Holmgren's going to be a top 20 player. But
bird in the hand is 2 in the bush, my friend.
I get it.
You got the best player on the planet, and you're giving away your first round picks. You can keep everybody else's. Right? They have so
I get it. They have, I think, 16 over the next 6 years. It's
fine. Isaiah Hardenstein and 8 first round picks.
Well, the problem is, you know, as you said, you don't want Oklahoma City's because everyone's going to be 29 or 30 for the next 5
That's what
years.
I said. You get everybody else's picks. All right. We got 5 minutes left. So a couple of things. I'm really happy to hear about your dad. Success. Yes. A very happy belated birthday to my younger brother, Jay, who
happy birthday, Jay.
Turned 47 last week. I also made the mistake on his voicemail calling him 48. So happy belated birthday to my brother. I'm looking forward to seeing him in a couple of weeks. And I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And we have 2 weeks to go to our NFL draft preview. And I will tell you, congratulations to both you and myself. Not one mention of the NFL on this podcast today. This may be a first.
It could be.
It could be. All right, sir, you're on.
Just a quick thanks on the good wishes on my father. A sad, kind of weird, melancholy goodbye, I guess, to Octavio Dotel.
Yeah, and Henry Blanco.
Henry Blanco, I barely remember. But yeah, to both of them who died in, I guess, a nightclub incident down in the DR. Ugh. So that, you know, not much you could say in response to that. In regards to the transfer portal, yeah, our team Maryland ended up number 9 in the rankings, best in 20 some odd years. There is not one player back next year.
And
welcome to the new world.
Before you go on, we should wish a very hearty congratulations to the Connecticut Huskies as well. We should not be.
Oh, we should.
Because
Absolutely.
They played a phenomenal game.
Congratulations to Paige Bukers, Ezeal Fuzz, Sarah Strong, all these. I mean, they dominated the 2-time defending champion South Carolina.
As poor of a game as Florida played is as good of a game as UConn played. It was spotless. Congratulations.
And the semifinal game against UCLA was just as good.
Exactly.
Congratulations to Gino on number 12.
Number 12. And by the way, next week we'll talk about whether he has jumped into your Rushmore with 12. And I don't mean women's basketball. I mean college basketball.
I think that's a good discussion. And I will be sitting somewhere not in this office for that.
There you go. Happy Tax Day, everybody. We'll talk to you guys later. See ya.